Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you a macro code on how we can count colored cells in Excel automatically. So the scenario that I'm putting out here is that I have a data set, and then for example for the MeritIncrease, for my purpose, I colored all the percentage that's below 1% as red and all the ones that's above 5% as green. Of course, you can do whatever you like, and then you can see I have this many cells, and I basically want to be able to, when I click on this button, I can count how many employees are colored to red or green automatically in those two cells. So as you can see, I have already done the counting here. So let's see, for example, let's filter for the red colored. It's showing 16, and then for the green, it's showing 10. So basically, I want to make sure when I click on that, I can just automatically show my numbers in those cells. So let's see whether we can do it. Yeah, so it's exactly showing us what we want, and I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. Okay, so let's say this is a spreadsheet that we're working with. So of course, first you need to make sure that you're saving this file as a macro-enabled Excel file. If you're not familiar with that, you can go to my macro for beginner playlist and then see how you can get those basics set up. And then the next step here is to define your ranges. So for example, we have two colors here. So let's select those two colors, and then we make it a named range. So for this purpose, we name it legend. So you can type in here and then click enter. So that's named. And then let's name the range that we want to count. So it's going to be this MeritIncrease range. And then let's select the data set. And then again, we go to the top left and then name it to whatever. For my purpose, I name it MeritIncrease, because that's what the data is all about. So now when you go here, click on the drop down, you're gonna see the named range that you select. Okay, so after that, now the next step is to basically write the macro code. So I have already done that here, so I'm not going to waste the time to write it. I'll just explain to you what it is. Okay, so the first three lines are basically me defining the numbers that we're doing. So we're using a loop function to count. So just for easy to understand, I name it like the legend as L. It starts with L, and I named the MeritIncrease rows as M, so that it's easy to differentiate. And the reason I name it as capital L is because that if I put as the small case L, it would actually look almost exactly like 1, and that might be confusing. So I think, you know what, I'll just put the capital L, and then so that you can see here is L, but here is 1, so it's easy to differentiate. But really, you can name it to whatever letter that you want. And then I named the count also as an integer, because this is basically how I'm counting those numbers. So for my first loop, I'm saying that for my first row in this from row 1, which is essentially this one, to the row count. So basically it's asking me for how many rows we count for the range legend. So in this case, in our definition, we have 2. So we're saying that from the first row, the count starts as 0, and then it goes to this range, this MeritIncrease range, and it also starts with the row 1, which is essentially this one. And then Excel is asking that, well, if the interior color for this, for this cell is the same as the interior color for this cell, then our count adds 1 point. And then you end this if function, and then you go to the next M, which is the cell, and then you do the same comparison. If it's the same color, you add 1. If not, it's 0, and then you go to the next. And then at the end of the loop, after you basically go through all the row count, basically goes through all the way to the last cell. After you have done that, then you go back to this cell, which is essentially, this is the range legend. So this is the range legend, and then the Excel is asking you to move one column to the right, which is basically those two cells. And then Excel is saying that after you have done all that loop count, put the value of the nCount into this cell, and then you do it for the next L, which is essentially the green color, and then you end the sub after you finish that loop. So now let's run it. You can do it here, or you can do the button there. So in order to do the button, you go to insert, and then you insert a button, and then make sure you select macro that we just saved. It's gonna look like this, and then you just name it to whatever you want, CountColouredCells. And then you jump out and then click on it. You should be able to see those two numbers. Here you go. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I also want to show you is that what if we want to add more colors? So let's say for my purpose, I want to say, you know what, for all the cells where we see number greater than greater or equal to than 2%, but smaller than 3%. For whatever number that fits this criteria, we're gonna, let's say we're gonna color it to orange, and then we wanna put an employee count there as well. So first, let's see what number it's supposed to be showing here. So let's filter for the numbers that's greater or equal to 2%, but less than 3%. So it's giving us this many, so it's showing 26 cells. Let's color it to whatever orange that was selected. So we have done that. Now the one last step before you click on this button is make sure that you also update your legends range. So to do that, when you go to legend now, you can see the legend is really selecting those two colors, which means that our macro code does not go down to the orange. So in order to change that, you need to go to formula name manager, and then you go select the legend, go add it. So the name is still legend, we want it to be the same, but then for the reference, let's change it to including the orange, and then okay, close it. And then now when you click on it, it should be showing the 26 here. So let's see. Okay, perfect. So this is how we can use macro to easily count colored cells with macro. I found this function particularly helpful when you work with some other people, and then they might have their own criteria on selecting people and coloring them, and they might also update that frequently. So instead of doing the count just by filter every single time when they update it, the easier way is just to do something like this and then prepare the macro code, and then you can easily update your count every time the coloring changes. Okay, so that is everything that I want to share with you today. I hope that you find this helpful. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you like it. If you have any question, please leave me a comment, and I will talk to you very soon.